we all know that more money makes you more of what you already are. So an asshole who gets more money probably is gonna be a bigger asshole. And I think the same holds true for the government. We all know that the government is inherently inefficient. And giving the government more money is gonna make it even more inefficient. So the US government, for example, in the year 2000 has collected revenue of around $2 trillion. And now in 2023, or the numbers are from 2022, it's $5.6 trillion. So it's more than 2.5 times more money they have to spend on public services and on solving our problems. And I know there are things like inflation, etc., but we can all agree it's substantially more money within only a bit more than 20 years. And by the way, inflation is heavily influenced by the government itself through the printing press. Anyway, so more money is not going to make the government more effective. Quite the contrary is true. We have to find alternatives. I mean, nobody has told me, hey, in the last 20 years, inequality has been solved or the situation has become better. Or nobody has told me, hey, our schools are better. Nobody has told me our streets are fixed. So everybody's just complaining, and I think for a reason. All the money that we have given to the government hasn't been used in the most effective way. And it's not going to happen in the future. So we have to strongly think about alternatives. The government doesn't need more money. The government needs less tasks. And there are the tasks that we should just remove. We should just stop going into unnecessary wars, right? We should just stop stupid subsidies for whatever. I mean, let's not go into the details because you can always have a discussion what is stupid and what not. But they're generally speaking, tasks that we can just remove and nobody has to do them and everybody is better off. But then there are also the tasks that are kind of necessary, right, in a well-functioning society. And the question that I want to pose today is, which of these tasks can we step by step moving over from the government to privates? And I think there are many, and we have to take a gradual approach and be thoughtful on how we do that. And I want to make one example today, which is close to the Sprezzatura company and the consumer goods industry. I'm talking about the sugar tax today. Governments around the world have started to put a tax on sugary products, the sugar tax. And the argument is a public health argument, right? Because the high sugar content leads to obesity, diabetes, etc. And that also has a cost for a society. And as in most societies, healthcare is completely or at least partially public, that's also a cost for the public. And the rationale is like, if we tax sugar, then people are going to buy less of these products and the costs will come down, people will be healthier. Kind of makes sense, right? I mean, there are other voices that say that these kinds of taxes are not working, but I don't really want to have a discussion whether these taxes work or don't work. I just want to show the rationale and propose an alternative to that rationale. Because again, here in that instance, we have a tax, more revenue for the governments. And obviously, nice, okay, we have more revenue, then we can do more things. But again, going back to this 2 trillion, it is now 5.6 trillion within only 20 years, we clearly see that more revenue for the government doesn't have a huge impact, or maybe non-impact, or even a counter impact. So we should think about alternatives. Compared to other taxes, the sugar tax is quite smart because at least it targets a behavior that is a net negative for society. because eating more sugar leads to obesity, and obesity does not only make you unhappy, but also bears a real cost for society. Anyway, I don't want to go too deep into that, because other people could maybe say, well, who are you to say that eating sugar is net negative? Because clearly in the moment, by consumer, it's perceived as positive. But I don't want to go into that philosophical argument. I want to go into another philosophical argument though, which is, do we want to live in a society where the government is all the time trying to steer us in one or the other direction by something like a sugar tax? And I would say, no, I don't want that, right? I want to keep my freedom and make my own decisions. And many people feel like me, and that's probably also why in many countries around the world the sugar tax hasn't been introduced yet. But I want to propose another way of reaching the same goal without coming into this philosophical dilemma and into the nanny state. And my proposition is, why don't we create incentives for companies to do the right thing without taxing the bad thing? And this could be done in a way like it could be a sugar tax relief, right? So if a company, let's say Nestlé, is reducing sugar in products, they should pay less taxes, which makes sense, right? Because if they reduce sugar in their products, healthcare costs will go down, so they shouldn't have to pay the same taxes, right? Because the other argument is being made all the time, more sugar leads to more healthcare costs, that's why we have to tax the product. So the other way around should work as well. And I think this could be applied to many other parts of society and the political system. But let's stay with consumer goods for now, right? So sugar is one thing. We could think about animal products and CO2 emissions, etc. So if we create tax incentives for companies that do the right thing, everybody wins, right? The left has the outcome that they wish, the right keeps the liberty and the freedom, and the right probably thinks that lower taxes are a good idea anyway, and companies can basically change their behavior without making less money. So we could apply that to different things, not only sugar, but I think it's a very good example. And I wonder why this is not even discussed nowadays, right? I totally agree that we need responsible acting companies in the marketplace, companies that do the right thing. And that's my mission with the Sprezzatura company. But we also have to create the right incentives for those companies to act in the right way. And if we can do that without raising taxes and without creating new rules and basically make the marketplace less free, then we should totally go for that option. And yes, in the case of the sugar tax, the government would collect more money to do things with that money, but we have seen, and we are seeing over and over again, that the government is not able to solve all our problems. And we have had, in the US, 2 trillion revenues in 2000, and 2022 we have 5.6 trillion, and many people would say things haven't changed for the better. So I think it's a really good thing to start thinking the other way and say, okay, how can we create incentives for a company to do the right thing and to take some of these tasks away from the government so that they can do with their existing money more. And again, lowering taxes for companies that reduce sugar in their products is a real sweet spot, right? It's good for society, it's good for companies, they make more money, we will have less obese people, but let's keep in mind, we don't only want less obese people, we also want a less obese government.